Hey Kaiju fans, so this is a follow-up video, but this is the Godzilla from Invasion of the Astro monster. It's made by X-Plus, and this figure is a companion to the Rodan figure that I showed you guys a few weeks back or so. So I'm going to go ahead and review this Godzilla figure. Alright, so one thing I like about this version of the Godzilla figure from 1965 is to me, he's a little bit more agile than the prior movies. I think the first few films in the 50s predominantly were kind of the force of nature, not particularly nimble. But as you get into sort of the 60s, particularly the mid-60s, Godzilla becomes very much more of an active kaiju, if you will. And I really think this figure captures all of that, which is terrific. So let's go ahead and first start off by looking at his head here. So he's kind of in this roar mode or attack mode, and you can kind of see how his head is very much symmetrical to his mouth, very round. And I think that was done purposely, perhaps to make sure it was sort of accessible to children. If you look at some of the other prior versions of Godzilla, particularly in the 50s, I think you can make an argument that it had this sort of menacing look, if not kind of a creature, if you will. But as you can see here, he's kind of has this sort of friendly face, and what I really like about this X-Plus sculpt is that the actual teeth are kind of appearing, and they're individual and they were attached accordingly. So it's not just, let's say, a gum line with some painted teeth, if you will. If you actually, run your fingers along there, those are actual pieces, which I think is very, very nice. In addition to that, I do like the fact that the shading of the dorsal fins sort of are a little bit more subtle than the other Godzilla sculpts that are out there. If you can sort of see closely here, you go from kind of a dark gray, which is his skin color, down to a lighter gray, and certainly with X-Plus figures you're always going to get very good shading. Another thing I do want to call out as well is the skin texture. There was not a heck of a lot of, let's call it, variability in his skin texture in this particular design. And just, to kind of focus on the upper half of his body first, you can see a lot of vertical lines, if you will, that kind of run down the figure. And there's sort of a slight variation in the neck area, but for the most part, I wouldn't say it has a lot of differentiation throughout his body. It's very kind of similar throughout, and maybe that was due to simplicity. Now if we zoom back out, in this version of Godzilla, he's only got 3 toes. In some versions he does have this another appendage, if you will, that kind of goes off to the left and the right, and I've made some other videos with various Godzillas that do have that feature, but in this one here, back to the sort of standard 3, if you will. And as I kind of cycle around the figure itself, it's not that big of a figure if you compare it to other X-Plus sculpts. I think in this case here we're looking at about, let's say, 13 or 14 inches tall at the very, very most, and almost equal wide, so maybe 12 to 14 inches long. So it's not particularly large in terms of X-Plus figures that are out there on the market. But since it did come in as a set with the other Rodan, there's only so much creature you can pack into a box before it becomes unwieldy. So, I certainly think this is a great looking figure and worthy of something maybe you should purchase. Alright guys, yeah, so that's my kind of figure review. I think in the 3rd installment of this I will show both figures side by side, just to kind of explain the whole set that you can get from X-Plus. Granted, this did come out in 2022, so you probably have to get it aftermarket at this point. But yeah, that's my review. And if you liked our content, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. And please head on over to KaijuKingdomCollectibles.com as well. We sell other awesome Kaiju products, so come check us out. Until next time, thanks.